Well, he's Buzz Aldrin, second Homo sapien sapien to walk on the surface of the moon. And he's got a long bio. He really doesn't need any introduction. But his new book is Magnificent Desolation. The website is buzzaldrin.com. We've got links to that up on my sites, Infowars.com, and the other sites, Infowars.net. Your book gets into your idea of a unified space mission or direction. I notice we haven't gone back to the moon except with probes since the early 70s, and you talk about that in the book as well. So tell us about your idea, with a doctorate in all of this, and as one of the most famous astronauts, your vision of what you think we should do.
Yeah, it's as you just said, unified space vision, not mission. It's many missions over a long period of time, and we came to a real tipping point with the accident of the Columbia on February 1st of 2003. That left us with only 3 orbiters, and we had to solve the problem of the safety of continuing to fly the space shuttle and the unfinished space station, and what is the future going to be. Before that accident, NASA was considering flying the shuttle until 2020, another 10 years from now, and maybe even 2025. And now it looked as though that was just not a good thing to do. My engineers were trying to work the problem in coming up with a modified shuttle launch system that could take up a replacement of the shuttle orbiter to take people up, but not large amounts of cargo, at least in the same spacecraft. And we were looking, my group of engineers were also looking for what kind of a space vision should we have in the future. But the accident and NASA's studies during the summer, combined with the accident board, came up with a recommendation that the cargo and crew be separated, but not just in the spacecraft, but on the launch vehicle. And I was concerned that opened the door to have NASA develop 2 different rockets, one of them just for the crew and one of them just for the lander and the cargo, and I felt that was wrong. But NASA was pursuing, sort of behind closed doors, what they thought they should do for the future. And when they did come out with their vision for space exploration in January of 2004, it involved terminating the shuttle in 2010, finishing the space station, building spacecraft and rockets somehow to go back to the moon by 2020. I kind of went along with that. That sounded reasonable, but then as the progress in the launch vehicles that I disagreed with began to bog us down, I felt we need to look really closely, examine why do we want to go back to the moon with humans when by the time we get there, it'll be 50 years from when we did it in 1969 and beyond. And shouldn't we be following the shuttle with something that has 6 to 8 people in it but no cargo and lands on a runway? And shouldn't we be doing other things for a long-duration space flight in the direction of Mars? Isn't that where we should try and go with our major resources?
Well, Dr. Aldrin, Buzz Aldrin, didn't Wernher von Braun draw up the space shuttle back in like the mid-30s, the idea for it? Isn't it ancient comparatively in the space age?
Well, yes. What he felt we needed correctly was a laboratory in space and a reusable way to have rockets and spacecraft take people and cargo up to the. But that's two things, and we couldn't build the laboratory till we had the shuttle, and the shuttle was not well designed in the first place by trying to put a crew in the reusable booster. So it had to be redesigned with solid rockets, and I didn't agree with that. And it ended up being quite a large vehicle to satisfy the Air Force needs for a big reconnaissance satellite and a one-orbit mission returning to the same place that because of rotation moved 1,500 miles to the east.
Sure. Not to interrupt you, but in the time we have, we're reaching the halfway point here. Sure. I'm going to skip this network break. You cover a lot of this in Magnificent Desolation, which is a magnificent book. But something I saw you get really excited about was on C-SPAN. You talked about this monolith on the tiny potato-shaped moon of Mars, and I knew about its moon. I didn't know about this monolith, and you got really sparkly-eyed and animated about this. Tell us about this monolith and why you want to land on that moon first.
Well, I want to land on the moon first, whether it has a monolith or not, because it orbits around Mars in 7 hours and is quite close, much closer than our moon is to the Earth. And from that moon, people can control robots, rovers, all sorts of assembly processes, chemical processes, fuel processes, and other things on the surface without endangering the crew. And it's much easier to take people there, actually, than it is to take people to and from our moon. Because of the smallness of it, it takes longer to get there, and when you get there, you have to stay longer. So it's a significant challenge, but it is a major, safe stepping stone before going to the surface of Mars, and can be approached in inspiring, logical steps from low Earth orbit, doing things that increase our capability, some in the direction of our moon, but not landing on our moon. Instead, we have the experience to be the leaders of international nations, other nations, sending their astronauts or tachinauts to land on the moon. And
so are you saying, Mr. Aldrin, that this should be an international mission?
Well, everything should be. The space station is international. We need refueling for going elsewhere in space, and that should be commercial, not national, not government controlled, and that certainly means international. Now the monolith just happens to be a location of a Marsology, not geology, feature that is a physical structure, but it is very, very curious, and is quite close to where we would like to land. And Canadian studies extensively of going to Phobos for science. The science team has said, go for the monolith. So they think that is sufficiently scientifically attractive, and it's close to where you want to be to observe from there the planet Mars itself.
Well, Commander Aldrin, isn't this interesting? We have 2001 Space Odyssey. We have this, what looks like almost a perfect monolith on this moon. And then here you are, one of the first moonwalkers. When the Eagle lands, you're on television saying we need to go there to see this monolith. You're saying it's very curious. And again, I saw your eyes light up on television. What is your gut this monolith is, or what are Marsologists saying it could be?
My opinion and the Marsologists' opinion don't guide public opinion and curiosity for the unusual and the bizarre. We need lots and lots of public discussion about the pros and cons of going anywhere.
No, I mean, certainly it's a way to get people interested. I see that. But
Okay.
What do you think this is? I mean, tell me what your gut, or as a person, a doctor who studies this, what does this look like to you?
It's a big, tall rock. Now, I can say it looks like maybe a crude construction device by some creatures who practiced on Phobos and then landed in Egypt and built the pyramids. I don't really believe that, but some people are liable to think that.
Well, I'm looking at it. It's got what looks like really clean-cut edges, and it's got a smooth top. And I never even cover this stuff, Mr. Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin on the phone with us here from California. This is just amazing to have you and others talking about it. And I see all your excitement.